Good afternoon, all my listener. It is 5:30 p.m. on this very auspicious Friday, April the 21st, 2023. I am Bad Karen. This is my show. Every day is like Sunday. And you, of course, are all my listener. You're tuned into mighty CJMP 90.1 FM, the official community radio control module here on the coast. I'm broadcasting high, but not too high, atop the bowling alley on the shores of the beautiful Salish Sea in the territory of our friends, the Tla'amin Nation. I'm with you for the next 90 minutes, during which time I will debut the world premiere, if you will, of the new CD by Dead Bob, a.k.a. John Wright, entitled Lifelike. We're going to play the CD in its entirety and chat with John, who's in the studio with me now, waiting patiently. You can tune into CJMP at 90.1 FM if you are in the region, or you can stream us at cjmp.ca or on Radio Garden or iTunes or what have you. I'm also podcasting this program, hopefully. Been having a little issue with that, but I'm hoping it works today. And that will be on up at cjmp.ca as well if you are not in my space-time continuum. I think that's all I need to say in this opener. It's not my usual opener. I do want to tell you that there is some content warning for this album. Only a little.
Only a little.
Only a little. Yes, if you have any issue with strong language, you may want to turn away now because the very first words are naughty.
The opening salvo.
If you will. All right. Well, we're going to let Of Montreal play out. Do we want to talk first?
Sure.
Or let's talk
Hello,
first.
Hello, Karen.
Hello, John.
I'm
Welcome
here.
to the show. You
Thank
are.
you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Well, it's very nice to be here on the Catholic Regional Community Radio Station and all the listeners and those people abroad that hopefully tuning in on the World Wide Web as well.
Indeed. So, John, you started making this album when?
Mid-90s.
Mid-90s. It's a long gestation period.
Yeah, I say that only because there's a couple of songs, one song in particular that literally was something that my brother and I were working on. Back when, I can't remember, we were practicing in the hat shop down in Gastown, and it was either the Dance of the Headless Bourgeoisie or perhaps No Means No One album around 2000, so the end of the 90s. And as you know, my brother and I collaborate a lot. He was obviously the main lyricist in No Means No, but I wrote a lot of music, and he put a lot of words to a lot of those songs. And one of them just never got done. It's one I always liked. It was unfortunately written in the key of C, which, of course, being the rudimentary piano player I am, was not unusual. But it was actually written in drop C, and it just never worked. Robbie couldn't really play that, and it just kind of went to the wayside. So when I say it's been that long in the making, well, one of the songs has. And but yeah. A lot of I've written a lot of songs that are all in various stages of completion over many years, and this album is the product of all of that. 9 of the songs that are actually finished.
There we go. And is there anything you want all my listener to know before we head into song one?
Song one, yeah. Obviously, this is a solo album, but obviously also I've had a lot of help and worked with a number of people. And this opening song is actually originally written by Byron Slack from the Invasives, a good friend of mine and an awesome band. We played a lot of shows with them, and so I had done a little work with him. He worked with me when I was doing the Robot album, Compressor Head,
Right.
Back a few years ago. And anyway, he sent some demos, and he happened to send this one song, and I really liked it. And then I ended up kind of taking it over, rearranging it, editing it, changing it, and spitting out something not completely, but pretty different. So the opening track is a collaboration with Byron and myself, and the second track is a song, and that first track is called Just Breathe, and the second track is called White Stone Eyes, and that's the one I was referring to that Robbie had written the lyrics for.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third song is a song, actually an outtake I had written, and I completely forgot I had written it for the Robots. And so that's the first three. I think we can play the first three, and then we can talk again.
All right, and I'm using a program that I don't normally use on my show, so and I worked right up until just I came in. So I'm just gonna. I hope this works. All my listener, let's just see what happens. Nothing's happening. Oh my God!
It's a fade in on that. First song.
That's right. It is a fade in. Okay, let's let it fade in.
Is it? I can't hear.
There it is. I can hear it.
Oh, here it comes.
Here it comes. All right, first three tracks, world premiere.
There we have it. Yeah, that Party of One was, like I say, I completely forgot I'd written that song, and it was for the Robots, Compressor Head, a little tribute to the little things in life.
Yes, indeed.
Those unicellular creatures.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That song, to me, that song is like Last Train to Rockaway Beach. It's like the Monkees meets the Ramones.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it's kind of touch on all bases on this record. A little
yeah,
bit.
hitting all the high notes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the last song we'll hear it, of course, at the end. It's like it's like an '80s pop song.
Yeah. What are we going to talk about in this? I think something might be not kosher with the stream. So I'm sorry about that, people who are trying to tune in online. I'm working on it. Community radio here in the Cathet region. Volunteer 100% driven. So we do our best. We've got some aging computers that haven't aged well, but we are not like me and John, of course.
Oh, of course not. No.
Of course not, no. But we are in the process of replacing them, so hopefully our stream will not cack up so much in the future.
Right. Yeah, well, moving on, of course, the next song is the title track of the record. Mm-hmm. And it is actually, I remade a No Means No song. Mm-hmm. Lifelike was recorded with Tom and Rob and myself for the album The Dance of the Headless Bourgeoisie, which came out in like 1998. Mm-hmm. And it was a bonus track on the double vinyl. And we tried to play it live one tour. It never really worked, and the song kind of was relegated to obscurity pretty quick. But I really liked the song a lot. I really liked my brother's lyrics and the way it worked with my music. And in the process of going through and working on demos, this is kind of I guess I should say, kind of a COVID-related project. Because once COVID hit and I had some time, discovered I could set my drums up at home in my workshop, which I haven't done since like the mid-'80s, having my drums where I lived. So I just started, taking these songs, all of these bits and pieces of songs and demos, and start drumming to them and making them sound a little more real. And I was really enjoying the results I was getting. And I was going through a lot of old keyboard demos. So I did a lot of demoing on Korg M1. If anybody's familiar with that one, that's like right out of the late 80s. And I found the original keyboard demo for that song. It's like, oh, yeah. I think I'm going to try to redo it. The demo was a bit slower, a little bit shorter, I think. And I'm just going to learn to play the drums of this again and just do it again. And then I had the idea that I wanted it to be a little more pop. Of course, I'm popping the microphone.
Yeah, you are.
And more choral. I wanted the song to be a little more unisex in that way.
Party of One.
Party of One, but this one, I wanted to be a much broader version, and so I enlisted the help of Selena Martin, who is
delightful,
amazing musician, super talented, and a great performer as well, great writer, and she has great vocal style. That I really like. Her new album, what's called Swimming. The title escapes me at the moment.
Yeah.
It is awesome. Great vocal arrangements and quite a bit different music than this. But anyway,
Time Spent Swimming.
That's it. Yeah, really good. I recommend it. And I just reached out and said, "Hey, you feel like singing this song?" And she lives in France, so we had to. She was like, "Yeah," and she's a fan and. I think, anyway. And so we sent some files back and forth, and she ended up doing, I wanted her to basically sing lead. In the end, I kind of take the lead at the beginning, and then she comes in and takes over the song later on. So that's the title track. That's Lifelike. And it's going to be followed by something really much off the wall, which is entirely a little strange song. That's my phone going off.
That's your phone going off. I usually turn mine off. Turn my ringer off while I'm on the air, John.
No,
tip.
I am so connected to the world now. I can't turn
now
this
that you've
thing
got
off.
cell service at your house.
Yes, and track number 5, No Tomorrows, I had my son Aiden come and play on. He plays the rhythm guitar on it. And I helped him do his album. He's got an album out.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. Anyway, he came and helped me out on that song, and it's a kind of a weird little tune. And I left. The demo was done with a Apple loop on GarageBand, and I really liked it, so I left it in, and then the song kind of transformed somewhere in the middle. And then track 6, the third song we'll hear, is another collaboration, a song by Ford Peer. Not musically, but he wrote the words to this song, a song that was too easy. And the funny thing about that is I had sent him a different song, and he had written those lyrics for that song, and I got him, and I listened to it, and I'm like, well, okay, that's all right. But I was right in the middle of writing another completely different song, and went, wait a minute, these lyrics fit this other one way better. So I just, I said, okay, I'm just going to put them here.
All right, and we should mention extra vocals on Party of One from Christy Lee Audette.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Sorry, I also want to mention that in No Tomorrows has a. I really like horns. I like to write horn arrangements.
The horn.
And she's another very talented musician and performer, and she plays the trumpet, and she's partners with Byron. That's how I met her. That's how I got to know her. And she plays in a band called Wrong, R-O-N-G, which are completely rocking. So she knows how to rock out. She plays the guitar, keyboards, and horns, cornet and trumpet, I guess. Probably other stuff. And she very kindly played the trumpet part for me on that song.
Nice. And apparently the stream is working. I got a message from Jenny on the ferry tuning in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Hi, Jenny.
Shout out to Jenny.
Yeah. Craig's probably listening to it right now. Streaming
yes.
too.
Time for the shout outs. We've got the shout outs in town site.
Oh, yeah.
Mary and Suzanne and Laura and Chris are tuning in for sure. And lots of people tuning in.
Yes.
All my listener.
Yeah, and also a shout-out local fella, Jacob Krause.
Yes.
And you should mention, too, because he very kindly took on the task of mastering this record. Mm-hmm. And I only met him by chance at the Wildwood when he played with Karina Inkster and Whatever For. And he played the bass, and I was chatting to Sasha, the drummer, because I think Sasha knows about No Means No and my past, and talking about this record, and I need it mastered, and Jacob just piped up and said, hey, I'll master it. And so it was awesome. The whole process of mastering I've never done that before. Usually you just take your studio masters and you send them off to someone somewhere, and they do it and they send it back. But I was able to work with him on these. So he did some mastering, and then I started tweaking the mixes to solve some problems and get things better. And it was a lot of back and forth, and it was a really, really interesting process. Mm-hmm. And so, many, many thanks to Jacob Krause for helping me.
All right, and we should mention the graphic art, Giselle Grenier.
Yeah.
And original painting by Patrick S. Krebs.
That's Craig's stepdad's painting.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a painting.
It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. It was originally going to be the cover of the album, and subsequently ended up drawing the cover. But it's on the back cover, and that's a painting I've seen on Craig's wall like forever, practically since I've known Craig. It's followed him around everywhere he's lived, and he just was looking at it, and it's kind of got, when you see it, if you ever get to see the artwork for this record, you'll see the painting. It has the word life in it, and it's both a painting and a collage, and it's kind of chaotic and messy, and this album kind of talks about some of that mess in life, and actually the album's really sort of about extreme anxiety and depressions.
A true COVID.
But in a fun way.
Yeah, a true pandemic project.
It is. That opening salvo was on purpose. For all those,
was it a mistake? You didn't just accidentally do that?
That was, I wanted to voice what so many people are thinking right now.
Yeah.
Or feeling, I should say.
Yes, both thinking and feeling.
All right, so let's play the middle three. Starting with the
title track.
Absolutely. Background voices, and that sounds like Ford. We were just talking about this. Some people have suggested that they hear Robbie on this record. I hear Robbie singing, and Robbie does not appear on this record in any musical performance. So
just as a writer,
just as a writer,
writing credit.
But I guess there must be some brotherly tone that I hit there. And then in that one, there's a background because Ford Peer wrote that last song. The words to That Was Too Easy, and at one point I go, I sound like Ford Peer in that song. It's not on purpose.
So that was Lifelike, followed by No Tomorrows, and That Was Too Easy. Yes.
Yeah, and as I mentioned on No Tomorrows, kind of a funny song, and based around that kind of loop that I got off of an Apple loop, and slowed it down and made the music to that song and built it from there. And also wanted to mention Byron plays some bass guitar on that song too. So, there's a lot of help putting this together. I'm playing most of it. As we were laughing about the Ramones guitar solo in that last song, it's about as much of a guitar solo as I'm able to play. But as Karen always says, why play 4 notes when 2 will do?
That's what I always say.
I agree.
That's the magic of the loose tights.
Yeah.
And let's give a little shout out to Aiden.
Yeah, and
Aiden.
I said that my son Aiden is playing some acoustic guitar on that, and I would a little shout out because he's got an album out too that he released. Shameless plug that he put out with a friend of his, Ariane, I believe her name is. I hope I got that right. He put it out in February.
Say the name. What's the name of it?
The name of the band. The name of the band. They call themselves the Sweet Hours, and they put out an album called Kiss Your Friends. And it's just the two of them writing songs together, and they were trying to get it together last year down in the Lower Mainland, and weren't having much success. So Aiden called me up and said, "Hey, Dad, you want to play the drums and help us out with this?" So I did, and they produced a really great record. It was really fun to do.
All right, and just a little shout out. We do have a shout out to Chuck. All my listener Chuck tuning in Seattle says the stream is working, and
stream is working.
And all my listener Bruce in Wales.
Yes,
indeed.
On the World Wide Web.
A little bit Welsh. Yes. So, and shout out to Sue Russell living in the wilds of Cranberry.
Uh-huh.
And all my listener Psychologic in Twitchlandia.
Yeah. So.
Pogoing
you were asking about vinyl. You were saying that
yes.
I'd sent Karen the artwork with the liner notes and the oh my god and
Sean
and some of the information of the records. She goes, I want to get the vinyl and so I just released this today officially. It came out streaming on all the sites and on Bandcamp, of course, but I will be getting together some hard copies of this, some CDs. The artwork's finished now, and Paddy Duddy, bless his heart.
Bless his heart.
Thanks. Who has he's a friend. Used to play in Circle the Wagons. That's how I met him, playing out in Nelson. And he is drumming for Joe Keithley and DOA, and they were just in town. And he very graciously said, "Hey, I'll help you get the vinyl out. I'll help you make some records." And so that's awesome. And Jacob is going to master the vinyl as well, take that challenge. And so we'll get some vinyl. But vinyl, and it's going to be printed right down in the Lower Mainland. There's a pressing plant in Burnaby, Clampdown Records. I believe that's where we'll do it. But there's lag time with vinyl these days.
Yeah, and CDs are also en route?
And CDs. There's a company in Surrey, too, that produces CDs. They don't take quite as long, so hopefully we'll have some hard copy CD-wise in 4 to 6 weeks from now. For all those people anxious to get their pause on something tangible. But it's been really gratifying. The Bandcamp page has been lighting up all day long as people have been buying the download.
Nice.
Which is great. And that's for all those people that like to stream music. You can stream it on Bandcamp as well. But that's really if you want to support musicians.
Pay for the music.
Yeah, digitally that's the best place to go. They're there mainly to support the bands. And they take 15% of your sales, which is pretty reasonable, I think. And you kind of do it yourself. You have your little store.
Yeah, you can sell your merch, and you can sell all kinds of stuff through that Bandcamp.
Yeah, absolutely. So I encourage people to go to Bandcamp and stream it there, but you can stream it on. I mean, there's like 30 sites. It's like, what are all these streaming sites? I've heard of Tidal before. It goes iTunes and Amazon. Amazon. No, don't listen to that. But Spotify, of course, and but streaming. Musicians don't get anything from that. Very, very little.
Yeah.
But it's like promotion. Essentially it's a promotional tool. This is how you get people to be able to find you and hear you, and you get on playlists. So you end up on some playlist and
on someone's community radio, perhaps.
Yeah, right. And you just it's good in that respect, but it's pretty tough for musicians to sell product. And this record is hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And hours and hours of work and fun work.
Yeah,
lovely.
Creative work.
Yeah, but it takes a lot for musicians to do these sort of things, and it's tougher and tougher to make a living at it. And I have such great respect for all those DIYers out there, all those independent musicians who really work hard to go and do their thing and play in front of people. And what were they saying? Like, if you really, the whole thing about, Ticketmaster and Live Nation is like, well, if you really want to, give it to the man, why don't you just go see a local musician
Yeah.
locally in town.
Yeah,
That's
and
driving or somebody coming through it. Like,
absolutely.
people-
And also support your community radio station.
There
All my
you go.
listener, you
Yeah.
are tuned into mighty CJMP 90.1 FM community radio in the Cathet region. I am Bad Karen. This is my show. Every day is like Sunday. Heard every Friday from 5:30 till 7. If you're in my space-time continuum. You can also stream this around the world at cjmp.ca, as well as Radio Garden and Apple and all that kind of jazz. You can also listen to this at your will via our podcast page at cjmp.ca. I am a little bit slack on my podcasting, but I will definitely make a point to get this one up pronto so you can listen to it at will, ad nauseum, if you will.
I don't think you're supposed to use that word when you're describing it.
And wherever you're listening, all my listener, I'm sure you have a community radio station, and please support community radio wherever you are.
Well, there you go. I mean, talk about streaming sites and all that. I mean, radio is, how long has it been around now? Like a century?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where people heard music. And
Yeah.
that's where people found out about music. And then they went out to the store and bought it. Maybe or maybe not.
That's how it worked for me.
One thing I like about streaming is I like the whole algorithm thing where they're picking songs. I like the radio format where you turn it on and you don't really know what you're going to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe a show has a certain style and but
Yeah.
you just hear things, right?
You know what I really liked in the 90s? There was a music magazine called CMJ. Do you remember that?
Yep.
And every month it came with a CD with like 30 songs on it. And it was all, and you get like 30 songs, and they would have these little small reviews of like 150 CDs. And it would all have, everyone would have this RIYL at the end, recommended if you like. And that's kind of, to me, what the algorithm is now. It's
Right,
if you
yeah,
like
yeah.
this, you might like
You
that.
might like this, yeah. Definitely, you know, I've heard more stuff that I would not have ever heard since I've been listening to streaming some music at home. Now that we have a cell tower, I live at the end of the road, and only recently have been able to connect to the world from my house, apart from dialing up someone, and you know, and you know, it's of course, you know, Spotify, whatever, funding AI weapons for the military and all that horrible stuff. The technology and the format is,
If it's not used for evil, it's quite good.
If it's not used for evil, it can be good.
John, shall we listen to song number 7?
What
What do you want to say about the next trio of
if you
songs?
want to, this will bring us to the third act of the
If you will.
record. 9 songs, and these are kind of definitely born in Lund songs. These when I moved up here, I purchased some land out at the end of the road, out Sarah Point Road there. Back in the mid-'90s, and would come and, you know, ended up building a little cabin and come up, and the kids would come up, and we'd have lots of fun and hang out, and but I still lived down on the Lower Mainland and did all that stuff, and then in 2013, I moved up to live in my cabin up in Sarah Point Road, and it was literally the first time in my life that I lived on my own. That I lived in my own place by myself. I'd begun to, of course,
You weren't in your parents' basement. Let's just clarify. You had been married and kids and all that. Was it like you weren't living in your parents' basement still?
Exactly. I did live in my parents' basement for a long time.
Oh, easy there, killer.
Oh, sorry.
Jeez. You
But,
just
you know,
about
rent was
blew all
cheap.
my listeners' drums out.
Yes, my marriage had come to an end, and it was time for me to. I didn't want to live in somebody else's basement down in Vancouver anymore.
No.
So it's like, heck, I've got a nice place.
It's a very nice little cabin in the woods.
Yeah, so I'm going to move up there. It was tough. The kids I had to, move away from my kids, but they were sick and tired of bouncing around with being mom and dad anyway, and everyone's perfectly happy. Well, they were happy to be with their mom and whatever. They were getting there older. It was a tough transition, but I came up and lived on my own.
Yeah.
And I had recently, of course, met my partner Wendy at the same time, but we had a long distance relationship for the first couple of years. And I was up here; she's still in Vancouver. But the long and short of it being, I had time on my hands. And I was by myself a lot and just started demoing like crazy. Started writing lots of songs.
Yeah, yeah.
And No Means No was coming to an end. And but I had lots of ideas. And you just sometimes periods in your life, you just suddenly are just super creative, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I was by myself. I had lots of time. I could stay up till 3 a.m. doing crap. And you know what I mean? And so these last 3 songs are a product of that time. Demoed on GarageBand. Shout out for GarageBand. We got to give a shout out for GarageBand.
Yeah, shout out for GarageBand. That's how we do my podcasts.
Awesome tool that is.
Yeah.
I mean, what they packed into this free freaking app on those MacBooks 10 years ago. Well, they still do, of course. You know, it was as powerful as any studio you would have gone into in the 70s. You know, it's like barring, of course, the mics and the rooms.
Yeah, soundproofing, et cetera, et cetera.
But, you know...
But you could take this into a closet with a blanket and do the same thing.
Yeah, and it just is such an easy program to use, so it's a good way of getting into the digital world of recording. And anyway, I just found this is awesome. This is great. I can demo on this so well, and did. So these songs all were kind of born at that time in that way.
All right.
And the first one, I don't. Of course, it defies. I have no idea what kind of song this is. Anyway, it's a little tune, and then the middle, the second to last song on the album, "One of You," was born literally again from an Apple loop. I was just screwing around. I would set up loops, some drum patterns. Sometimes I'd program my own. Sometimes I would just choose a loop. And I found this Brazilian something snare drum. And it's like, this is such a compelling rhythm. So simple, but so compelling. I was like, this is awesome. And I just strung it out over, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes on the program, and just started playing. Playing some guitar and adding and working so the whole song, what you'll hear, eventually I went on and did live drumming and whatnot and words and arrangement. But what you're hearing, the genesis of that song was this Apple loop, the snare drum loop. The whole song was born from that.
All right, that's One of You.
That's One of You, and the last song, Make Believe World, just kind of sums up much of what the album talks about. And it was just written as a pop song. It's plain and simple.
There you go. Without further ado.
There we go.
Let's
You gotta believe.
Gotta believe.
Yeah, you do.
That song. Actually, a few years ago, my son, the Aiden, who was who played a little guitar for me. He's an actor as well. He's went through the fine arts down there in at UBC, and him and his buddies, they wanted to write a musical. They had this idea for a musical.
That's a great song for a musical.
And yeah, it was about a band. I'm not going to go into a long-winded story of the synopsis, but
thank goodness
there would be a live band on stage playing, but it'd be a live like punk band or rock band, and that's where the music would be. And and there was a whole story around it, and that song that I had, and I was like, yeah, I want to write. I'd love to write music for a musical. That would be so much fun.
That would be a great song in a musical.
And that was that one I had earmarked for the musical. But as time went on, the musical idea faded into the past, and so I just worked it up and put it on the album.
And was that actually really a Korg M1?
Korg M1, Clay. That was a Korg M1. What you thought was a guitar solo. No. I can't play guitar.
No.
Well, a little bit.
You can drum a little.
I can drum a little bit. I can make a bar chord here and there.
Yeah.
And,
You can make a mean bar drink.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, Korg M1. Wow, I still have it. I got a lot of mileage out of that thing.
Well.
And I guess we're chewing up most of your show here.
Well, yeah, we're coming to the end. And I've got, we've got a request from John Wright here. Lined up. Well, let's wrap it up. So the new album is called Lifelike.
Lifelike?
By Dead Bob.
Dead Bob. Anyone who knows No Means No gets that reference.
Yes.
And, of course, this album, the first one, takes a lifetime. But the next one's already mostly done. So
there we go.
Yeah,
so more in the hopper.
Well, there was a lot of songs. In the end, I've got about 4 albums worth of songs in various stages of
So we haven't heard The
completion.
Last of You yet? Is that what you're saying?
Hopefully not. Yeah. And hopefully I'll be able to find a way of being able to do this live. And I'm going to have to figure out how to play that slowly. I was practicing these songs, actually, thinking, am I going to be able to do this live and sing and all that? And I'm like, God, they're slow. Oh, my Lord. But then, I listen to live performances and No Means No Good. Oh, I'm playing way the fuck too fast. Oh, but excuse my language.
Oh, yeah. But I had
playing so fast. So,
we did start the show off that way.
Yeah,
so
okay.
only seems fair to end it not that way. So we're going to, let's see, we've got 16 minutes to 7 p.m. if you are tuned in the Pacific time zone. On Friday, April the 21st, if you are listening in this particular space-time continuum. If you're hearing this on CJMP at another time, it's a rebroadcast situation. I'm here with John Wright. And
I'm here with Bad Karen.
Yeah, you are. And this is Every Day is Like Sunday, heard every Friday on mighty CJMP 90.1 FM Community Radio in the Cathet region. Just
before we roll out the show at the end with a couple of songs, I just also wanted to shout out that Cecil and Donna. Cecil and Donna got a great thing going upstairs at the Carlson Club. It's what a great venue to go see bands. And
belated happy birthday to Cecil, by the way.
That's right. Yes. He still remains older than me.
Funny that.
And they're, of course, recent emigres from the Lower Mainland, getting out of there and found their way up. I think Donna, though, grew up and she lived here for about 20 years or something like that. She's quite familiar with the Powell River. Anyway, I wanted to have this chance on the radio, on this show, to also shout out that's a great thing they're doing there, and hopefully they're going to be bringing in more bands. And
yeah, we just had a great show.
Yeah,
a couple of weeks ago, Pink Mountaintops. That was stupendous.
Yeah, it was awesome. And
Econoline Crush coming up next.
They're coming up next. Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to get that in before we got out of here. And there's a little surprise coming up at the end. Of course, the Wildwood is drifting at the moment. But I had written and actually filmed a video, which again at the moment. But I had written and actually filmed a video, which again seems to have drifted off into the nebulous clouds, so at the end is a little treat, a song I wrote about the Wildwood and Wildwood.
And just a few. There's a few more folks that you've mentioned on your liner notes. Pro Gear.
Oh, the Pro Gear, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of help from people.
Scott Henderson, Tom Holliston, Cecil English, Al Stepaniak, and Craig Vishek.
Yeah. That couple of those songs are a guitar that he lent me for a number of years that I was able to jam around on and play on.
And thanks to Craig Bougie and Patty Torgerson, Patty Duddy, Dave Clark, Jacob Kraus, Naslin Brosso, and of course, Wendy.
Hey, listen to this, Wendy. I made this slight change that you won't notice in the mix. What do you think? Yeah, it
Sounds
sounds like
great.
the other 40 mixes you've done there, John. That's great. It's a good song.
Good job.
Patience.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, thanks so much, Karen. This has been fun.
Yeah, it's been really fun. What a treat.
Yeah, I'm very happy to finally have this thing done. It's been lingering for a long time, a lot of work, but that's great. It's great fun.
Yeah, well, it's a great album, and I will, when I post the podcast, I'm going to put a picture of the way I received the, I'm air quoting here, all my listener, the master.
The master.
to listen.
Apparently, nobody has a CD player anymore.
I know, I had to
I'm catching up, folks. I'm catching up. It's taking a bit of time, but I'm coming into the 21st century here. So
bless him.
One last mention, though. This final song, I also want to shout out that features Walter Martello and Ben Wayne Kyle on it. And, of course, Steve, the sax player.
Oh, I can't remember his last name.
I can't remember. I've just lost it. Sorry about that, Steve. Awesome sax player, by the way. And of course, yours truly, Karen, on the Mooger Fooger.
Yeah. Courtesy of Craig Vishek also.
Yes.
Indeed.
Don't we owe a lot?
We owe a lot to Craig Vishek.
We do. Mm-hmm. Well, actually, we don't, but.
We let him think that. All right. Wildwood Skies.
Thanks. Well.
Why is it not?
How much time you got left, by the way, in your show?
There we go.
Oh, there we go.